Welcome to episode 41 of The Leap Home, A Little Miracle.
In this week's episode, Sam has to persuade a cantankerous old man, well, he's not that old, cantankerous young man, to change his ways by staging a Dickensian intervention. With a Salvation Army mission under threat, can Sam get through to the rich man's heart? Or will the dream of profits and concrete immortality lead him down a path of self-destruction?
Wait a minute. I know who you are. You're that jerk from the lobby. I recognize the bad clothes and the pale complexion.
Good evening, Ian. How are things?
Not too bad. Gerry, how are you?
Not too bad. I recognise you there.
Yeah, from the lobby.
It could describe most Scottish people.
Yeah, pretty much. It's good to have a Christmas special here at Easter time.
Is that when it's coming out?
It is for us anyway. Quite a heavily religious overtoned episode.
It was quite mawkish, is that the word I'm looking for?
Saccharine.
Typical, Christmas Hollywood, attempting to be feel-good.
Some liberties were taken. I think they've gone out of their way to make a Christmas special without necessarily thinking about all the ins and outs.
Yeah.
It had its moments, let's be fair, but it wasn't a standout, I don't think.
Quite liked Blake.
Yeah.
And Al enjoyed himself. Dean Stockwell seemed to.
Yeah, he certainly got to play a different character.
Mm-hmm.
That's the second time this season he's been able to do that.
Although there are, I was going to say inconsistencies, but more making up of rules as they go along.
Oh yeah. This story requires him to see Al, so let's come up with something that allows it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Should we get into the socials quickly?
Yeah, sure.
At The Leap Home on Facebook, you'll find us there, or at Leap Home Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. We like to keep up with you all on those platforms, although the way Twitter's going, who knows? Anyhow, you'll also get our show notes on theleaphome.com, and if you want to hear the episodes 1 week early, head to YouTube, find Columbo Podcast Productions, and you'll be able to subscribe, hit the little bell, and you'll be notified when the new episodes appear. Shall we get back to Christmas time?
Let's crack on.
After the intro, we get a tag. We didn't obviously see this last week because it was leading into a repeat in the previous episode. So Sam is pulling up a man's boxers, but he has an issue.
Yeah, he's on his knees between the said man's bare legs and holding up a large pair of underwear and been told not to forget the talc.
Apparently that's a carcinogen. You shouldn't be using it anymore.
These days they say that, yeah. I sometimes use it in the summer.
Right.
When things are very hot.
Very moist.
Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't. It gives you cancer.
Well, they said that about mobile phones, didn't they?
Yeah. Ugh, something's going to get you.
The owner of the boxers demands that he uses this powder and literally looks down on him as he does so and lets Pearson, who is Sam, know of his displeasure.
We get a wee oh boy and then into the credits before we return to a plaza and I think a apartment block or a fancy sort of apartments.
Yeah, I mean, it looked very much, and I think it is that not Rockefeller Centre? Where they have the famous Christmas tree? Or is it a skating rink? Can't remember, in New York.
Yeah, but we're in this where this guy lives, so we're saying he's got a penthouse at this.
He might have, I'm not sure if it's mixed accommodation, like business and...
Okay.
Yeah, I was never sure if we were in his office or his...
Yeah, no, I think he lives there.
Yeah.
But why is he renting an apartment when he's so wealthy he can just buy a house?
How do you know he's renting it?
He says he pays the rent, and his monthly rent is double Sam's salary.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyhow, we're told it's the 24th of December 1962, and we hear some Christmassy music.
We do. Sam then muses that he often feels a servant to a higher power in his leaps, but this time he is a different type of servant. A more literal one.
Manservant.
Yeah.
He follows this guy who we learn is called Blake, that's his surname, into a lobby.
Michael G. Blake, yeah. He's clearly a very rich and successful businessman and a bit of an arse.
Seems to be. He gives Sam an instruction.
Although what I will say, and we can discuss it later, I don't think that what Blake... I mean, he might not be the nicest of people in terms of his own character, but I have very little issue with his business practices.
No.
I don't think he's particularly...
You think he's predatory?
Not really. I mean, you would say that, if you're a millionaire businessman, they're all up to something. It's a little bit dubious and maybe not the most ethical way of doing things. But in comparison to others of his type and what he could be doing,
yeah,
I don't think he's doing anything particularly.
It's not too exploitative from what we hear.
I don't think it's anything illegal either.
No.
It would be better if he was doing some sort of, he was forcing these people out of the mission by, sending around the goons and all that type of thing.
Or he's paying off the local authorities to give him the rights to...
Precisely. Do something really underhand and illegal, and then you get behind it. But what he's doing and his background and his story as well, when you look at where he came from and what he's done, you think to yourself, do you know what? That is the American dream.
Yeah, he's not even Scrooge-like. He's not making folk work for minimum wage. And
no.
Sam seems to be fairly well recompensed. And
doesn't sack him. There's a few times where Sam is, very impertinent, and you could see how you would have thought that others might have fired him for it. But no,
there seems to be some affection.
Although that's the thing as well, I kept it because another chap we meet in a moment called, I think it's Calloway.
Yes,
he's a snivelling little toady fellow. But he a few times suggests that the sack or Blake sacks Sam, and he says, "No, I'm not doing that." And I was expecting that at some point there to be some revelation that perhaps Sam's father or Sam himself had saved somebody, in the war or whatever, and he felt obliged to give them this job for life.
But there's nothing
that gets revealed here now.
Just a personal.
It just seems okay. Yeah, I'm not going to sack you for a bit of cheek.
No,
Blake's a good guy.
Well, he's not a bad guy at this point. Anyhow, he asks Sam to turn over his wardrobe and weed out any old suits. And when Sam asks for some guidance, he tells him to use his judgment. That's what he's paid for.
Yeah. He does, however, I think, treat all these sort of staff a bit scummy by demanding a bigger tree than the one that's just been erected.
Yeah, it's a bit... But they're still getting paid, so I don't suppose there's... Yeah, it's not their personal feelings. It's
exactly. You just say, I want a bigger one.
Yeah.
I think they're quite proud of it and quite happy with it, and he knocks him down a peg or two. But again, not the worst of things.
No. This sort of obsequious little man, Calloway, he slides over and praises the tree before he gets told. And then, having been told that it's not big enough, he immediately changes his opinion to agree with Blake. What a horrible
he's a wee creep.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't like him.
No, you're not meant to. We're in the dining room now, and I think we see that Blake has hired a porn star for a maid.
Or at least a potential.
Yeah, I did look up. I tried to. Nothing at all, unfortunately. But as interestingly, if you type in the name of the episode, one of the autocompletes is maid and things like that. So I'm obviously not the only one who's trying to find out more.
Well, Al as well.
Yeah.
Sam has some issues here.
What are they?
He doesn't... Well, he manages to give Blake his napkin, but he doesn't know where the newspaper is, and he gets sent to the foyer, where it always is. So he heads out and goes the wrong way out the door.
And as he does, he sees himself as a middle-aged, overweight, mustachioed man.
He gives a disappointed sigh, a returned mustachioed reflection, that's what I've said.
And I think this is the point we find out it is from the newspaper, it's the 24th of December 1962. Yes. Al has arrived.
He's in short sleeves.
Yeah, a Hawaiian shirt.
And he likes the look of this maid.
Of course he does, understandably so. Can't blame him for that.
Sam complains that he's a £200 valet. I think £200 is a bit generous.
You think he's more?
I would say at least another 50.
We only got a glance.
Unless he's really short.
Yeah, who knows.
Anyhow, Al says at least he's not Santa.
And I think, does Sam make a note of...
He takes a dig at Al's outfit.
Yeah, but he is reminded that it's not Christmas where he is.
Well, I think this is the first time that's actually been addressed on the show, that they're not chronologically aligned.
Well, there wouldn't be...
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, any random day.
It's just not been talked about before.
No.
So Al fills Sam in about who Blake is. He's one of the richest guys in the country. He did, as you say, buy up small companies, fitted them out, made them more efficient, sold them for profit.
No, I think I said that off mic to you earlier.
Okay.
So what he does is he finds you a company that's not been as efficient as possible. He uses new techniques and technologies, whether it be machines or new systems. Yep. He improves them and then he sells them on.
Yeah, and he's worked up from doing that with very small companies to now doing it with bigger companies.
And we find that he's done that from working himself up from being a complete street urchin to where he is. He's not come from privilege, and he's...
Yeah, but the implication is that this is wrong because it puts people out of work.
Well, yeah, I mean, it might, but at the moment, in fact, we've discussed earlier and previous shows, we're going through the AI revolution at the moment. So this will happen. It always happens when...
Yeah, things move on.
Things move on. When the internet came, it's terrible, we'll have to close down all the shops, people are buying online, yeah. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's just...
Yeah.
You can't hold back technically. That's what Luddites are.
That's true.
We're putting DJs out of a job. Radio presenters, aren't we, with the podcasting?
Nobody's out of a job because of what we're doing. Not yet. We're coming for that overnight slot on Radio 2.
Yeah.
Borge. Anyway, Al goes on to tell Sam that he is Reginald Pearson and he's been picking up after Blake, which is a strange way to put it, unless you don't like the fact that this job exists, for 3 years. He's not sure why they're there. Al says things may get tricky.
Yeah, because it's going to involve him bathing.
Yeah, so that's a nod back to that opening tag with the boxers, but we never see anything like that again.
No.
He seems to manage to dress himself from then on, or is it implied that Sam's doing it all for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think the opening tag is just to show what the relationship is, what his role is, what he's expected to do. I don't think we need to see it all the time.
It's a little bit much, isn't it? Why does he need just Sam to put his boxers on him?
Because he's rich. Doesn't need it. Just wants it.
Is that what rich people do?
See, that's the thing. I wouldn't want some a man
no matter
dressing
how
me.
rich I was, I would just dress myself.
Yeah. I mean, I might get the maid to do it, in fairness.
Well,
Obviously.
I think that might not be legal.
In 62 it would have been.
Sure. We go back to the dining room where we get some contextual history.
Do we?
Yeah, Blake notes that Khrushchev is visiting Disneyland. He's obviously the head of the Soviet Union at that time. Calloway thinks that war with Russia is inevitable. But Sam, who can't ever keep his opinion to himself, pipes up.
Why does he think that this is...
He doesn't know who this person he is now. You know, how that person thinks about these issues.
Yeah, I mean, what he says is that they will never go to war with Russia, and he starts describing the fall of the communist states. I mean...
This is interesting. So obviously this is being produced around about the fall of the Soviet Union.
This is what?
1990.
Yeah.
So, what, Yeltsin's not even showed up yet, has he? It's still Gorbachev?
The wall fell when...
89.
Yeah.
But Gorbachev didn't go until 90 or 91.
No, but I think they're right in the sort of the eye of the storm. They can see it all. It literally is just all falling apart around them.
His prediction that America and Russia will be allies has not yet come to pass.
No.
And we're 35 years or almost that on from when he's made it.
I suppose it's all relevant, isn't it? You know what an ally is. Then,
well, we're talking about a parallel universe as we've already established multiple times.
Yeah.
The intercom goes, although Sam thinks it's the doorbell and has to get directed to the interface.
Yeah, this causes the brown-nosed Calloway to suggest that Blake fire him. That's what I mentioned earlier, which doesn't go down well.
Well, Blake, first of all, asks if there's anything strange that he's noticed about Pearson, and Calloway says, yes, we should fire him. But Blake's not at all impressed.
No. Sam manages to pass on the message from Bert, the doorman, who has a Captain Downey in the lobby.
Yes, Calloway fills in that that's a Salvation Army captain.
And so he is told to go and get rid of them, and he doesn't care how. I've got a little bit of trivia about the Salvation Army.
Right.
So that was founded in London.
Yep.
Do you know whereabouts?
I would guess in Elephant and Castle.
No, Whitechapel. But the thing that's interesting, well, for me, is it's right outside on the street. I think they met originally, and on the street outside the Blind Beggar pub, which is infamous for not far from there, but Ronnie Cray, shot dead George Cornell.
Interesting.
Ronnie Cray being a infamous himself London gangster. But that's a famous pub, and right outside it, that's where
they would meet.
Yep, first time. Anyway,
so Sam, yes, he's been told to get rid of Captain Downey and wants some advice on how best to do that. But he's told, just do whatever you have to do.
Mm-hmm. Sam begins to argue back, but stops abruptly when he realises that he has spoke out of turn and is directed downstairs by his boss.
Yes, he finds Captain Downey, who is a woman with a loud band, and I've noted here that this will be a tricky scene to make a clip out of. I see you haven't.
I've not.
She says that Mr. Blake is never available. He returns all of her letters, but she's not going to let him tear down the 4th Street mission now or ever, and she's here to tell him to his face.
Yeah, apparently she's been fighting against him for 18 months. And when Sam dismisses the notion, I don't know why, he's like, oh no, he wouldn't do that. What makes you think this multimillionaire would not?
Just go away.
Developer would do that. He is immediately contradicted by Blake himself, who proudly confirms the allegation.
But not to Captain Downey.
No, he starts his rant at one of the old men, assuming him to be Downey, and is taken aback when the real captain is introduced.
You're Downey?
And second, Pearson is right when he says that you shouldn't tear down the mission. Well, yes, sir. I'm sure that they perform a valuable service.
The 4th Street Mission has been serving the lower Manhattan area for over 47 years. We help 165 people every week with food and temporary shelter, counseling, and spiritual guidance, all of which you can read about in my report.
Your report, Captain, is irrelevant. My attorneys have been in touch with your organization for more than a year, giving you ample time to move.
There's nowhere to go.
That's not my fault.
Sir, maybe she could move into one of your properties and all the other people could
Shut up, Pearson.
Shut up, Calloway.
Yes, sir.
Why can't you give us more time?
If your building isn't down by December 31st, I lose my permits to build. And I'm not going to let that happen. I have big plans for that property.
Blake Plaza.
Yes, and once it's completed, I'll have the most contemporary theaters, shops, offices, and apartments in all of New York.
But not for the people at the mission, sir.
It's not my job to save the world.
God forbid. That'd mean you cared about people.
Sir, maybe you could find a way to accommodate both your needs.
Pearson, you're way out of line here.
Yes, sir.
I think you should worry about your job and let me worry about mine.
Which is being a grouch.
Did you say? Well,
Who are you talking to, sir?
I'm talking to this jerk right here. Well, where did he go?
Who?
Never mind. Pearson, I want these people out of here. Call the police if you have to. Well, if you'll excuse me, Captain Downey.
So a couple of things about that. There's obviously, when they both look at each other, you can tell there's a attraction between Downey and Blake, even just flickering for a few seconds. And again, that's an example here of what we heard. I don't think Blake's been unreasonable. He's given him over a year notice to vacate. He's putting in place a building which will create jobs and housing. Yeah,
if they'd put as much effort into finding an alternative venue as they have to fighting him, they might have been quite happily somewhere else, wouldn't they?
Yeah. I mean, they don't require much. It's a rundown place at the moment.
It's not like it's the only place in the whole of New York that they could possibly have their mission.
And New York in the 60s, it's not New York today. I'm sure there's lots of places they could have got back then. Just, find somewhere else. He's not being unreasonable here. He's given you a lot of time, and you've just been practicing your brass banding and arguing with him.
Yeah. Your second point?
How can he see Al?
Well, that's what happened at the end of the clip there. It was a little bit strange, wasn't it?
Very.
It's just plot contrivance, I think.
Something about frequencies being...
Well, Al returns at this point, and Sam, as oblivious to what's going on around him as ever, just starts talking to him right in front of the Salvation Army people. Fortunately, Downey thinks he's talking to her.
Yeah.
Gets away with it.
Just.
It's idiocy. Anyhow, she thanks Sam for trying to help her and says it's in God's hands, but she's going to try to help him.
Okay.
Al and Sam then discuss, as you say, Blake's ability to see him.
What is the answer?
So apparently it's a fluke occurrence. His brain's on a similar frequency to Sam's, and a wee adjustment to Al's projection should sort it out.
So does that mean then that at any point Al can be adjusted to tune into someone if they want?
No doubt they'll use this every week now.
Why
Al
not?
can tune in anyone they need him to be seen by.
Yeah. So there's sometimes where maybe like a bad guy is about to do something bad. Yeah. And Al, we've seen it before, he's shouting and then getting no response. All he would have to do is to turn himself on and scare the bad guy away.
Yeah. No doubt they'll argue that, it's only because he was similar to Sam and there's so many frequencies, it's an infinite number, we couldn't possibly tune it in to somebody else deliberately.
Anyway, we find out why Sam is there.
Yeah, he thinks he's here to save the mission, but Al says no.
He's there to save Blake, or more specifically, his soul.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, we see Blake issuing Calloway orders to get rid of some other people from somewhere else.
Yes, then we head to the bedroom.
Yes, a bit later on, Sam's doing the job he was given earlier, sorting the wardrobe.
He's laying out Blake's suits and asks Al how he can save a man with no soul. Ziggy's no help as he keeps coming up blank.
He is. So Al helps Sam choose a couple of suits to keep, a couple to get rid of, and then Sam comes across something different.
Well, firstly, he says that apparently he's heard that checking a person's closet is how you find out about. I've not heard that before.
That's a terrible idea.
It does, yeah.
What would you find in your closet? Would you know all about you afterwards?
Yes, but
your reputation would be in tatters.
Well, in certain communities.
Sam does this anyhow. He finds a box of old photographs.
Yeah, a cigar box, which reveal that Blake has changed his name. That's why Ziggy has no information.
Yes, he used to be called Blakowski.
Ziggy's a bit shit, isn't he?
Yeah. This is the second time someone changing their name has completely baffled him.
He should have access to all this. In the future, where he is,
Yeah.
he should have immediate access to all records, a database.
You would think.
Yeah.
Al refers to Blake as a Scrooge at this point, which gives Sam an idea.
Yes, to take Blake back and remind him of the more important things in life. That seems a bit...
It's a bold gambit. They don't know anything about his past.
No. To think that would work. He's literally watched Scrooged and thought, I'll just copy that.
Yeah, we'll do this. Same thing. He goes to leave the room at this point and bumps into the maid, BB, on his way out.
Yeah.
And Al decides he'll just wait with her.
Good idea. We're at the mission. Sam turns up and apologises to Downey and tells her that he has a plan, but he needs her help.
Then we skip ahead back to the apartment where Blake is asking Calloway to have Sam contact him at the club when he shows up. And Calloway cannot believe that Sam has left without saying anything.
We're now in the car where he finds that Sam has replaced his usual driver. And not only that, but he has left the photos beside his suit.
And some of the suits, yeah.
That's the type of thing and you'd imagine you getting fired. You're rifling around my personal
Yeah. You're
information.
doing what I asked you to do.
Yeah, it's not that just that you've come across it. You've removed it from my home and left it for me.
Yeah.
That's really impertinent, yeah.
Sam immediately makes a big mistake.
What's that?
He asks about Blake's mother, who's in one of the photos, and Blake explains that she died just after this photo was taken.
Yes. And then he's really inappropriate. He claims that she was a really beautiful woman and his dad was a lucky guy.
Well, that's not really the sort of thing that's going to impress anybody anyway. It's like,
No.
no, I don't want it.
It's like, I'd like to bang your mum. I definitely would have.
But not only that,
Because she's dead, so Sam would be right into that.
of course, but Sam hasn't even presumably hasn't bothered to ask Al the history here.
No. And also he's lying. We saw a picture and she wasn't a hottie.
No, he's talking nonsense. But Blake takes offence at what he says.
Yeah, of course this angers him. And he states that his father was a bum who left him when he was 3. And his mother died scrubbing floors in order to erase him.
On her hands and knees cleaning someone else's bathroom.
Sam tries to engage, but Blake at this point raises the partition and they continue until Sam stops in a rundown part of town to start his plan.
Yes, before they can get out of the car, a kid from the mission runs out and lets down one of their tyres, and Sam unconvincingly tells Blake he thinks they've got a flat tyre.
Yeah, he rues the situation, noting that he'll be late for his meeting, and remarks that they have no business being in Skid Row. However, Sam gets out and begins to change the tyre.
Well, they talk about changing the tyre, they don't actually do anything, and as Blake looks around, he's reminded of his childhood and starts hallucinating.
Well, at first he smiles and he hears the sounds of the city, of the street, and children's voices playing. And I think he recognises the sidewalk or the pavement outside a store.
Yep.
But then things turn sour.
Well, first of all, he imagines this group of children running, and then he bumps into Captain Downey, who is surprised to find that he's familiar with the area.
Before this happens, the other kids are a bit mean to him.
Yes, he's remembering being bullied, I think.
I think so, yeah. Downey says he looks like he's seen a ghost, which is a bit of a cliche in these type of shows, isn't it?
Yeah. He explains to her that he grew up in this area, and he starts to tell her all about it. This is weird. She's the one that's protesting him and fighting against him. He's like, oh, she'll enjoy this story about my childhood.
Yeah, but also, he asks her who the boys were. Did you see them?
Yes, and she says there weren't any boys.
So, because we find something out later on, obviously. So were the actual boys there then?
No, he was hallucinating.
No, but they weren't, because later on, he sees the boys in the mission.
Right, yes, so she's lying about not seeing the
Yeah.
boys. So they're trying to make him think that he was hallucinating.
Which is really out of order. Like, messing about with a man's mind like that.
I never tried that at the time. Yes, so it's those boys are pretending to be visions from his past, bullying him, and then running off. And then she pretends she didn't see any boys, and he's just imagined or remembered something from his past.
So,
This is
we
grim.
would have assumed that he would be the person doing the manipulating to get what he wants, but in actual fact, he is working.
He's a victim.
He's a victim here. He's operating perfectly legally and quite ethically, and they are trying to mess with his mind in order to get what they want.
Yes.
No, it's not right.
Yeah. It's still strange that he decides to tell her his childhood stories.
I think maybe it's just he so emotionally wants to, and he likes her.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. And yeah, so they walk her to the mission, or at least in that general direction.
Yeah, and as they do, he talks of his friend Charlie and ignores Sam when he says that it is hard to imagine him as a child, but is delighted when he sees a chestnut roaster.
Some kind of roaster.
He buys a bag for himself and Downey, and then adds a third again. It's a sign of a decent guy.
Well, he didn't think of it straight away.
No, but he shouldn't. It's an employee. He's not his friend. He's just there.
Yeah. Okay.
But then he does realise, oh yeah, Sam used to have one as well. Anyway, Blake recognises the seller as a childhood friend called Max, but he has to tell him that he is Mickey Bukowski. Also doesn't realise who he is before the reminiscing begins.
Mickey! Mickey! Jeez, I'll be damned, it is you, eh? Mickey! Oh, what's a big shot like you doing back here in the jungle, huh?
We just had a flat. Well, we were just in the neighborhood, Max.
Yeah.
This is Miss Downey.
How are you?
How do you do?
This is
Very nice.
This is Pearson.
Mr. Pearson. Very nice.
Max was in.
Yeah.
You guys are old buddies, huh?
Are you kidding? We were like we were since we were kids. Right?
Hey, Max, you remember old Charlie O'Reilly?
Hey, how could I forget him? You were like Siamese twins, huh?
right.
Remember the time we dropped them water bags out the window on old lady Malone? Whoa!
She chased us and we were laughing so hard we fell down.
Then Charlie snuck back to her house and he locked her out.
He did! That's right.
He locked her at her own house.
Did you ever hear from him?
You mean you don't know?
What, Max? No what?
Charlie was killed. Yeah, about 4 years ago.
How?
He got drunk. Damn fool jumped out in front of a bus. Yeah, he'd been in pretty bad shape since he lost his job at Henderson's.
The bakery.
Yeah, he got laid off when they automated. Couldn't find another job, went on his skids. What a shame. He had 5 kids.
Here, Max.
Get out of here. Come on, get out of here. Put it away. It's on the house.
Just keep it, will you, Max?
What? I do something wrong?
No, I did.
We need to interrogate this a bit now. So after what we've just realised about the boys, has Sam told Max to say this? When he asks if he's done something wrong, do you mean have I not said what you meant me to?
No, I don't think there's any way that could have been planned. I don't think that... How would they know about Max's relationship, the chestnut seller?
I don't know. Maybe he was in one of the photos. Maybe they recognise him.
Nah, I don't think so. I think that's a coincidence. But what this shows us again as well is that Max is delighted to see him. There was no bad blood.
Nope.
So again, if he was a bad guy, what he could have shown is that perhaps Blake used his friends to get a leg up in life.
Yeah, and he's
they
not well loved, yeah.
They were resentful and he'd done them some wrongs. But no, he's like, everyone liked him. He's a good guy.
Oh well.
And, automating a bakery, it's not...
He's not responsible for his friend's death.
Pretty kind of an improvement to a business.
We head back to Blake's apartment and there's still Christmas music playing as Sam stands by what is now a massive tree.
Yeah. Blake's in a contemplative mood as he sits with a drink staring out over the New York skyline, but he's clearly drunk and he orders Sam to turn off the lights in the tree and doesn't care that it is Christmas Eve.
Sam asks if there's anything he can do for him and is handed the glass to refill.
And as he does, Blake tells him to turn off I think it's quite melancholic music, and Al arrives to hear Sam blame himself for taking him back to the old neighbourhood. And he's quite right. He went with this madcap plan.
Yeah. But Al thinks it's going well.
Yeah, he thinks it's his current state shows that it's working and that Sam, according to Ziggy, has to keep pushing. That's quite the risk.
Sam's quite surprised to hear this because he has no emotional intelligence. And Al says that now that he's shown him the past, he has to show him the present. This is quite cruel.
It's very cruel. Yeah.
But anyway, it's a lovely Christmas episode. Blake turns around to see Sam talking to Al, but he can't see Al anymore.
Yeah, because the frequency was
So all he
changed.
sees is
Yeah.
Sam talking to himself. So I assume that's them showing us he can't see Al now.
Yeah.
Because when Sam says he wasn't talking to anyone, it's just accepted.
Yeah. We hear Sam smile and chat to Al about his own childhood
Yes,
Christmases.
that year, yeah.
Yeah.
Sam tells Blake at this point, turning things up to 11, that he feels sorry for him, which is a bit of a bold gambit.
Very much so, yeah. I don't...
It amuses Blake, who asks him to take a look around.
Yeah, he boasts of his wealth and what he owns, and he says it's not bad for an orphan from the wrong side of town. And he also states that he is the embodiment of the American dream, which I think, yeah, he is.
Yeah. Sam, who always knows better, bets him a month's rent that he doesn't have everything he wants.
Yeah, he snaps back and he claims that he's miserable and he can prove it.
Yes, he says he'll get the car.
So we next find him in an alleyway.
Yeah, they're at the building where the mission is. It's going to become Blake Plaza. You see a sign up saying the future site of Blake Plaza.
Sam tells the drunk Blake to touch the walls of this building, and he points out that it is no heat or love. This is
Trite nonsense.
and yeah,
Blake is drunk, as you say, and he tells Sam that people will always walk out on him or die, but Blake Plaza represents immortality, and Sam needs to pay up because he doesn't need love, and he's lost the bet.
it would seem so. So they walk back to the street, and as he stumbles to the car and waits for Sam to open the door, they hear a Christmas carol being sung.
Carol of the Bells. I think it's sung in Home Alone as well. Probably
Right.
remember it from there.
Yeah. He says he's not heard it for a long time, and so Sam leads him over.
Yes, Sam goes in to the mission and Blake follows him and lets slip that he's attracted to Downey.
Yeah, well, she's conducting the choir, and Blake makes an emotional slip, as you say, when he enthusiastically agrees that Downey is beautiful, although Sam is only referencing the singing.
Indeed. She comes over. She's quite surprised to see them, but Sam explains that they were visiting the construction site, which doesn't please her so much.
Yeah, she thought they might be there to give her some good news. But Blake is put on the back foot when she wishes him well. And Sam comments that it's the time of forgiveness.
Yeah, the choir at this point starts to sing Joy to the World, and Sam railroads Blake into joining them. I think he says he was in a choir when he was a boy.
Right.
Tiny Tim is there. He shares his song sheet with Blake. He seems to enjoy the singing, and after the song, they enjoy some Polish treats, which he remembers from his trails. He explains to Sam what they were.
Yeah, so a little later, Blake is sitting with Downey, where things seem to be going perfectly for them and Sam. Too perfectly.
More beer, Nick, Mr. Blake?
Oh no, I really couldn't.
You don't like it?
No. I mean, yes, I do. It's delicious. You know, my mother used to make this for me every Christmas.
Well, I can't think of a nicer compliment.
You made this?
She sings and she cooks. It's amazing.
No, it's just that there's so much I don't know about you. And I'd like that to change.
Now, would you just look at this? This is better than anything we could have dreamed of. You've saved the man and the mission.
Looks like it, doesn't it?
What do you mean it looks like it? You did it, Sam. All we have to do now is sit back and let nature take its course.
Hey.
Hi.
Look at this.
What have you got there?
This is for you.
For me?
His name is Sheldon.
Come here.
I'd put my money on a horse named Sheldon any day. Well, Ziggy says there's a 97% chance that you've turned Blake in. 95?
What?
93? Odds are going down. I don't know why.
All right, me first.
You think I do?
What's caused the problem there?
The boys that we talked about earlier from the vision show up and make it obvious to Blake that he's been fooled.
Yeah, so he stands in anger and snarls that the building will come down in a week, and then he storms out.
Back at the apartment, Sam tells Blake that he wasn't trying to trick him, which is a lie.
The whole thing's a trick. You're really trying to manipulate him psychologically, emotionally.
And Blake's on top of this. He thinks that he's just trying to make him into someone that he's not.
Yeah, he then stalks off to bed and tells Sam to hope that he doesn't fire him in the morning, and also tells him to get rid of the tree.
Yes, but when he goes to bed, Al shows up, and Sam says he's making things worse because Blake's never going to believe anything he says in the future.
But Al reminds him that he has to save his soul to leap and to remember the people at the mission.
Sam has an idea.
What's that?
They should use Al as the ghost of Christmas future, since when he's on his normal settings, Blake will be able to see him.
Okay. So, we find ourselves in the early morning in Blake's bedroom, and dressed like something from a Tim Burton movie, Al screams at Blake to wake up, and after initially scaring him, he remembers where he saw him before.
We heard that at the top of the show. I like the fact that Al insists on saying "Rawr" after everything. He says he's the ghost of Christmas future, but Blake points out he's dressed wrong.
Yes.
He should be in the black robe, and it's Marley's, or Jacob Marley, who wore the chains. He then tries to thump Al, but passes through him twice before becoming quite frightened and shouting for Sam.
But when he arrives, he pretends that he can't see anyone and suggests getting a doctor.
Al says that if the doctor comes, Blake will be sent to the loony bin, so he stops Sam from making the call.
And promises and begs that he'll triple his salary and he will forget about the bet he lost if he just gets rid of him.
I like the fact that up until then he wasn't forgetting about the bet.
Well, yeah, it'd just be like, gets his paycheck at the end of the month, there's nothing there.
Yeah. Al tells Blake that they're going for a walk, and Blake gets Sam to fetch his coat because clearly terrified he feels he has to do what Al says. And he hides he refuses to look at Al at this point.
Yeah, he's cowering against the wall, which
back to him.
I thought was quite good. So we find ourselves again at the plaza where Al gives him a fright by screaming behind him.
Well, just before that, though, Blake starts to rationalise things, thinking he might have been dreaming. He's been working very hard lately, but
yeah,
Al does show up, and Sam suggests Blake asks the ghost why it brought him here.
And so the overacting hologram claims that he's there to show him his future and proceeds to use the hand link to produce a graphical representation of the plaza in situ.
Yeah, Blake loves it.
You would do. Brilliant.
I'm not changing my ways. This is amazing.
It's amazing. Better than what I'd envisaged. Giving him ideas here, yeah.
However, Al projects onto the wall of the plaza a news report from 24th of December 1975.
Yeah, where interest rates are extremely high and he ends up filing for a bankruptcy and apparently was undone by his own greed and lust for power.
He's upset about this.
Well, he's nearly hyperventilating.
But he does want to know, does the plaza still exist?
Does it?
Well, yes, but it's now named Samito Plaza.
Okay.
He's lost everything. He's very upset with this, and he wants Sam to make Al go away.
But Al insists that he doesn't leave until he sees the end of the movie, and then invites him across the road to view his own headstone.
How did I die?
You didn't just die. You killed yourself. You took a header off the top of the Blake Plaza. In the rush hour.
Why?
Why? Why not? You had nothing to live for, no friends, no family, no love.
I don't want to die alone. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to end like this.
Mr. Blake. Mr. Blake. You all right?
He's gone. The ghost is gone. I think it's over.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's all over.
Oh, I'm a horrible man.
Yes, sir.
Hurting people. Not caring about anyone but myself. I don't want it to end like that. Hated, forgotten, and alone.
You still have time to change things, sir.
Do you really think so?
Yes, sir, I do.
Yes, that was Blake noticing the Christmas star shining down on the mission, which Sam assumes Al has put up there. And
yes.
They agree it's a sign.
And so he lets it guide him to its endpoint, which happens to be
the door of the mission,
which is opened by Downey, who is pleased to see him. And they both start crying as he asks her if she has room for another lost soul.
She just slams the door.
She says, no.
Get lost. Al tells Sam that in the future, 6 months from now, Downey and Blake get married. They have 3 kids. He does build the plaza anyway, but he puts the mission on the first floor.
Sam wonders if he would have knocked on the door at all if it hadn't been for Al shining the star down.
Al denies, putting the star there.
Ah.
It was Jeebus. At this point, it starts snowing, and an emotional Sam wishes Al a Merry Christmas before leaping
Back into an old episode on a ship.
Yes, that's it. And that's the end.
It is.
Happy Christmas.
One and all.
Yes.
So, it was very on the nose, the messaging.
So saccharine.
Yeah. When was it? What, you tell us in the trivia, what release date was it? When did it actually come out?
21st of December 1990.
Right.
So that's like 3 weeks after the previous episode.
Sure. I mean, I'll say I like Blake, and I quite like watching Dean Stockwell doing his ghost routine, but the story didn't have any merit for me.
That star thing doesn't make any sense.
She never seemed, the mission, it didn't really seem, he could have helped himself.
Apparently, Salvation Army captains aren't allowed to marry people who aren't in the Salvation Army.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about the Salvation Army. Obviously, it does some good things. There's probably some decent intentions there, but also, I'm not too clear if you looked into their beliefs and their...
Yeah, I think it's a bit culty as well.
Is it? Yeah. I'm not sure how progressive they are with their outlook these days, but anyway, that's not why we're here.
That's not what this story's about. Trivia?
Sure.
Directed by Michael W. Watkins. This is his first of 6. We'll save him for the next time round. The story and teleplay credits go to Sandy Fries, or Fries, and there's a teleplay credit for Robert Walterstorff. So it's Fries's only Quantum Leap credit. He also wrote for Star Trek The Next Generation and loads of animated shows, including Care Bears, Gem and the Holograms, and Thundercats. And it's the last of 3 writing credits for Walterstorff. So you hear more about him if you go back to the podcast for Jimmy. Michael Blake, played by Charles Rocket, or Rocket, as Hyacinth Bouquet would say.
Good name, I liked him.
First of 2 Quantum Leaps. Also in Murder, She Wrote, Dumb and Dumber, Dances with Wolves, and an episode of Star Trek Voyager. Somewhat ironically died by what was ruled, I don't want to, it's not funny.
It's not funny at all, no.
It's ironic. Suicide, apparently, or ruled a suicide in 2005 at the age of 56.
I like the way you say apparently, as if you've got no other information.
Well, it just says that's what his IMDb says, was ruled a suicide, so that means there was some doubt about it. I don't know. He reminded me in this a bit of Judge Reinhold around about the time of Vice Versa.
Think so?
Yeah.
Okay. I know him probably most for, he was the father in Hocus Pocus, and I also think I saw him in an episode of Moonlighting.
Right.
He was good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, was he Saturday Night Live as well? I think he was. There was a bit of heat around him for a while. I thought maybe he would go into bigger things, and I'm not sure if that...
Rocket. Okay, yeah. I get the joke,
and I'm not sure if that maybe contributed to, who knows, maybe his lack of career success.
Didn't break out. Captain Downey was played by Melinda McGraw. This was her only Quantum Leap. She's also well known for Mad Men, The Dark Knight, The West Wing, X-Files. She worked with Scott Bakula in Men of a Certain Age. She went to RADA with Clive Owen and Ralph Fiennes, and she's now 59, still very active, very popular actress. Max, the chestnut seller, was played by Robert Lesser. This was his only Quantum Leap. He'd been in Die Hard, Matlock, Married with Children, some other things. He's now 80, but his last screen role was in 2019. Calloway was played by Tom McTeague.
Wait, he's 80? So he was meant to be a friend round about the same age as Blake, but would Blake have been...
Well, he would be in his 70s now.
Yeah, I suppose. Okay.
Tom McTeague played Calloway, only Quantum Leap for him. He's been in Baywatch, Roseanne, ER, last screen credit 2016. The old man in the Salvation Army, Michael Dan Wagner, played him. This was his only Quantum Leap, also the final screen role before his death in 1993. He'd previously been in Little House on the Prairie, Wonder Woman, Happy Days, a few other things. Tiny Tim, or Tiny Boy, I think he was called in this, to avoid copyright issues, was played by Jarrett Lennon. This was his only Quantum Leap. He also appeared in lots of things, Cheers, ER, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but his last screen credit was in 2011. He worked in IT support after that, but according to his self-penned, very optimistic IMDb bio, he is looking to return to acting and has a podcast.
Just like me.
He's now 41.
Apart from the return part.
And the 41 part.
Yeah.
Dale Haramoto played the newscaster, the woman who's the newscaster from the future. This was her only Quantum Leap. She's also been in Seinfeld, Godzilla, Cagney and Lacey, in one episode of Sledgehammer. She was also a newscaster in that. It was Death of a Few Salesmen. She almost always plays a news reporter in everything that she's been in,
sure, apart
from a couple of things. And she wasn't a news reporter in real life.
I was watching Sledgehammer yesterday, the episode of the game show episode.
Right.
No, it's still brilliant. They went to let the widow know of someone's death and they got the wrong door.
Yes.
Anyway,
talking of Sledgehammer, One of the maintenance guys, I think one of the guys working in the tree maybe, was played by Dwayne Whittaker. His only Quantum Leap. He was in Pulp Fiction, Murder, She Wrote, L.A. Law, and one episode of Sledgehammer. He was the, quote, fighting husband in Hammer Gets Nailed.
Right.
He's now 63, still active. In a case of some real-life time-bending, the plot is based on The Muppet Christmas Carol, which wasn't out for a further 2 years after this. Charles Rocket played Michael Blake in this episode, which was also the name of the writer for Dances with Wolves, which Charles Rocket was also in earlier that year. So there may be some connection going on there. Only the third time a human other than Sam was able to see Al during a leap. We had the little girl and we had the old lady.
Yeah.
Who was, oh no, not the old lady, the woman who was about to die in the Vietnam episode.
Yeah.
The old lady just heard him. In terms of things that we learned, people who are mentally like Sam can see Al. Sam and Al aren't chronologically aligned, but that was easy to work out. On this date, the only thing I've got is the next day the movie version of To Kill a Mockingbird came out.
Right.
Wasn't much going on.
I've got a few things here.
Okay, let's go.
So born on this date was Kate Spade, who is a designer.
Okay.
But she's also the sister-in-law of David Spade, the actor.
Okay.
From Joe Dirt and Saturday Night Live and things like that.
So she wasn't born Kate Spade then?
No.
Okay.
Who coincidentally died by suicide.
So a lot of connections with this episode. It's quite ironic, you might say.
You might say that, yeah. If you were, what do you call her?
Alanis want to say.
Yeah. What else do I have? Yeah. A band that I have seen, The Dubliners, was formed on the 24th of December 1962.
At a party?
In O'Donoghue's pub in Dublin, which I have had several drinking sessions in.
Okay.
Good boozer. And finally, the number ones.
Yep.
In the US, it was the Tornadoes, Telstar. And in the UK, we had A Return to Sender by Elvis.
Good song. Next week, we have Runaway, where Sam has to hold a family together and solve a disappearance. So we'll see you in 1964.
Till then,
cheerio.
Bye-bye.